Hey, this is Mike. Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at reading from the Firestore database. Last time we wrote to it, so now we'll read those posts that we made and we will print them to the screen. All right, here you can see we have 3 posts in our database. So we have a collection of posts. We have 3 documents. 2 of them we made last time together, and then 1 I made for today. And what we want to do is we want to add a new page. So we're just going to add a completely new page here. Its job is going to be a reading from the database and then just printing out the title and the created by date. So this is going to be kind of an admin view. We're going to start simple and just read from the database and print it to the screen. And then in later episodes, we can add things like delete or navigate to the posts so we can edit them or view them as needed. All right, so here we are in VS Code. I'm going to make a new page called posts, and it'll be kind of an admin page. We already have the Firebase information, so I can show it on the screen, but if you need this information, go back and watch the last episode where we set this up and we write to the database. So in this episode, we're going to make a new file called posts.js. And in here, we want the usual import React. We're going to have useState and useEffect. And so I don't think we've used useEffect in this web app yet, but what that's going to allow us to do is when this component loads, we're going to be able to use effect in order to read from the Firestore database. So we want to have that ability to just do it one time at the beginning of the page load. All right, we want to export a component called posts. And then inside here, we're going to have a variable called posts that we use useState for, and then it will have its corresponding use posts, and it will be a empty array to start out with. And so we'll read the posts from the Firestore database into posts here using set posts to assign it. And so then this is going to return, and I guess we need a page wrapper just to center things. If you want to know what we did to this page wrapper previously, go back and watch a previous video. But it should basically just center our table for us. We're going to go pretty simple on style today. We'll add style later once we add buttons and things to this. So we're just going to import the page wrapper. I need Firestore, so I'm going to import Firestore from our Firebase file. There we go. And so then in the return, what I want is just a page wrapper around it. Something like that. And then inside here, we're going to build a table. It's going to be a pretty simple table to start out with. So we're going to have a head. So just let's see, T head, table head, and then inside here we'll have a row for our headers, and then TH, and the ones we want to start out with are just title, and how about created on. Let's see, I'm getting errors on the page wrapper, so I probably need to, instead of acting like this is an object, I need to wrap it in a parentheses. Much better. And then down here, we'll add a table body, so T body. And then what we'll have to do is we'll have multiple rows here. So I'll just, for now, I'll put test title just to make sure this is printing to the screen okay. And then test created. All right, so let's take a look at this. Well, first we need to add it to our header. So let's add posts to our header so we can navigate to it. So if I pull up our common header, and I can just add, right after add post, we'll make a posts page, a posts link. And it'll just say posts. And later on, when we add the sign-in ability, we'll make this an admin-only link, so it'll only appear when an admin is signed in. But for now, we'll just make it visible no matter what. So that should be fine. Now we need to add it to our app down here, so we need to add a new path here. So I'm going to copy add post. We called it navigate to posts. And we want to bring it in. So again, posts there. Let me copy the import for add posts or add post. And this will be posts from posts. You can see how naming is pretty important here. Let's see, what are we missing? On our posts page, our common styles is wrong. So let's take a look at that. So on posts, we want style. Oh, it's style and not styles. That should fix that, maybe. And then we want, oh, did we not? We don't have a page wrapper. What is this wrapped in? Add post. So here, add post wrapper. Okay. We'll just wrap it in the same stuff, add post wrapper. That sounds fine. And that is in add post style. So let's do that. So back here, we'll do add post style for now. And we'll probably come back and change this later, but I just want a quick style here, wrapper, yep. And then this will be add post wrapper. And again, I'm just reusing it from a previous video here. I just forgot what I called it, I guess. All right, and now that's much better. We have a few things that we need to use that we're not using yet. And that is fine. So let's see what this looks like. All right, here we are, and we have a new link up here that should take us to our new posts page. Great. Oh, I probably put 2 rows instead of TD in there, so I'll need to fix that. But that's going to go away anyway, so I'm not too worried there. It is printing our table. It has some sort of styling, which is fine for now. So on a good path. So now what we need to do is we need to read the posts from the Firestore database. Okay, like I said, we're going to use useEffect for this, and why we're using useEffect is so that we can read it in one time when the page loads. So on load, we want to read it in. And there's multiple uses for useEffect like this. If you want to do something every time something happens, you can. In order to change how this works is this array right here. So what I've done is I've added useEffect from the React library. We have a function is the first parameter that we're passing in, and this is going to do something, right? This is kind of on load, do stuff. And then the second parameter is this array right here. And if it's an empty array, it happens once on load, basically. So when this component loads, it should ask for the Firestore database. So we're going to query the Firestore database and use set posts to push whatever post we get out of the database into posts. And then down here, we will map through those posts and print them out one per row. So another capability here is if we're going to have to add a variable in here, posts. So every time posts changes, it's going to rerun the useEffect. So whatever you put inside this array will on change rerun it, kind of thing. And so we'll see that. You have to be careful though. So Firebase, if you're under, I think 50,000 reads a period, then it's free. If you go over that, it will cost money. And so when you write something that's querying the database, you don't want it to repeat over and over again. So you have to be careful here on how you ask for it and make sure it's not writing again and again and again. All right. So let's see. What we want to do is just jump right into it. Is Firestore. And again, this is from that Firebase file. So if we go and look at that just real quick, down here, you can see Firestore is equal to firebase.firestore. And so by just calling Firestore straight out of here, we're accessing the Firebase, which is set up with this Firebase config and initialized. And then here is firebase.firestore, and the function Firestore is stored in here. All right, so we're passing that in. So Firestore, and the next thing you want to specify is the collection. So our collection is posts, and you get that from the Firestore website when you set that up. So right here, this is the collection we're looking for, is posts, and then it holds these 3 documents, and so that's what we want to access. All right, so back in posts.js, we're accessing the posts collection, and we want to do a get, and we're just getting everything. So just do a get, and then this is a promise, so it's going to go out, it's going to fetch the information. When it's ready, we have to give it a function to run. So when it's ready and it's got the information, we want to read the snapshot, and it's going to run this function. So saying snapshot is the input, and then I want it to run this program right here. So I'm going to say the result is going to be equal to snapshot dot docs dot map. And so docs is going to be an array, and we're going to map through that array. And so each document is going to be a post, and we want it to run this, or we want it to return this function here. And so basically we just want to return an object that'll be shoved into an array, this result array. So every time you have a new doc, that it, all the docs that it reads, it's going to shove a new item into our result array based on this object here. So I'm going to have an object. Oh, I already opened it. So there we go. We already have an object. And I had to wrap it in a parentheses here to say return this entire thing. This isn't a code block. It's just return an object right here. And so we're going to have our title, and that's going to be equal to post. That's this post right here. So each document is, I'm calling it a post. You can call it whatever you wanted, but it just makes more sense to call it a post. It's going to have data. So you're calling the data function. and I want the title property of that post. And so then we want created on and post ID, and let's say the body as well. So here we can do created, and this is going to be the body, and this will be post ID. And so post ID is actually just going to be post.id. It has an ID tag on the snapshot. On each doc is going to have its ID tag. We could print that out here too if we wanted to. So maybe just to give a reference here. So we could do post ID, and we'll put that in our body. And then let's see, so created is a little different because Firestore stores it with the time as seconds, I believe, from epoch, and then also nanoseconds. And so we have to massage this a little bit. And so this is going to be created, but we want to do .to date, and so that's a JavaScript date instead of how Firestore stores it. We want to convert it to a date object. And then down here, this will be body, I believe. I might have to look at that, and then post ID. All right. So this right here should fetch our data. Let's see. It usually says down here in the warnings something about posts. Nope, not yet, I guess. Oh, I haven't written that part yet. So after we fetch it, and we're still in this .then function, we want to write it. So we want to do set posts result. But we don't want to write it every time this runs, because then down here it's going to say something like you need to add posts to this. So I'll wait for it to say that. I guess it hasn't said it yet. But what I need to do is to make sure it doesn't run constantly, is I want to verify that something has changed. And so I'll write an if statement. And I'll say, let's see, I want to compare result. If the result is not equal to posts, the problem is, these are both arrays. And so I want to stringify this to compare. So if I do json.stringify, then I should be able to compare these a little easier than trying to compare strings together like that. So stringify this guy and another parentheses, and we should be good. Yeah, right here. Okay, this is the one I was looking for. So it's useEffect is missing dependency posts. So we need to include it or remove the dependency array. And so what we can do down here is just say posts down here. So every time posts changes, this is going to rerun. And that's why we want to put this in here, so it doesn't just keep polling that Firestore database, because it'll run up the reads really quickly if that happens. All right. And then we should probably check it anyway once we run. I'll actually I can show you real quick what happens. So let me put a console.log here and just say test, and we'll see what happens if we don't have this if statement, just to make sure it's needed. Maybe it's not needed. I'm pretty sure we need it though. All right. The last thing to get this working is down here on posts. I want to, instead of printing a static row, I need to add that posts array in here. And so we're going to add JavaScript. And so here we're going to have posts.map. And then for each post, we want, let's see. For each post, we don't want to do this. Let's see, what am I trying to do here? I want to just return tr, something like that. Let's see here. I don't like how this is arranged. Let me fix this. So for each post, we want a new row. And in each row, we want, let's see, the post ID. So we called that post.id, right? So post.id, something like that. And we actually want to use that as the key as well. And so we can say key equals post.postID. And so this is so that when you have a map like this in React, you want in order for React to know each row of the table, you want it to have a unique ID, this key, a unique key, so that it knows when to update this. And so it'll give you a warning if you don't put this key in here. And then the next thing we want is another cell that is the post title. So let's add the title. And then finally, we want another cell that is the created. So created, but this is a date object, and so we want to format that. And the easiest way to format, we can just use vanilla JavaScript and say convert to a local date string, and I will use English US, and then I can say something like this. How about we do day is going to be numeric, and then we'll have month and year. So month will be short. You could do short for abbreviated, or you could do long for the full month name, and then year can be numeric as well. And we'll see what we get, okay? Let's see. Breakpoints used, that's fine. I think we're okay. So let's take a look. I do have a misspelling right here, created. So hopefully that fixes things. Okay. And now looking at our page, we have the post ID is not coming in, so I'll have to look at that again. But then let's see, the title, great, and created on. And so let's look at we only had test. It looks like test came up twice. Let's see if I clear this and refresh. How many times does it say test? 2 times, so that makes sense. So what happens is the useEffect runs once and it sees that posts was updated, and so it runs it a second time. And so if we changed posts again every time, this would just rack up really quickly, and we can test that in just a second. Let's look at why post ID may not be coming up. Of course, obvious mistake. So this needs to be post ID like this, and that should match whatever I put there. Yep. Okay. So now taking a look, I have the post ID. So this is the one we made from the website. This is one I added in manually, probably before the website last time. And then this one is one I made in between, probably manually. So you can see Firestore adds unique IDs to it, but you can also add your own IDs if you really wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and use just the unique ones when you make it from the website, and I probably won't post it here just because I don't see a use case, but you still do want it as the key. And so if I looked at elements here, and let's see, there's our table, there's our header, and there's our body. you can see we built this table here, and the key doesn't even show up, but it is needed. Let me show you a couple things. One is if I don't add the key, what happens? And then two, if I don't have that conditional to keep that use effect to keep from keeping on running. All right, so now if I remove this key here for just test purposes, you can see over here when it reloads, it's going to say each child in a list, so a list or a table, needs a unique key property for React. This is a React requirement. And so I need to add that key back in, and that should go away. So let's add that back in real quick. And now when it reloads, it's gone. All right. So the other test we want to do to make sure it's important, we did the key test. Let's look at this if conditional here. So remember, this again is we're comparing the result we just got from Firestore to what's already in our posts variable. We stringify it so we can compare it easily. But if we don't have this comparison to regulate us changing the posts over and over again, if I comment this out, when this reloads, you can see it's continuing to run, and that test is just going to rack up your reads, and you don't want that because you could run into a billing situation really quick. So I'm going to come back in here and add that back in. And so when this reloads, you can see it runs twice and it stops, and that's what you want. You don't want this to continue hitting your database. All right. So thanks for joining me today. We were able, last time we wrote to the database. Today we read from the database. Next time I'm thinking we'll either, next few episodes, I want to set up authentication. I want to change the rules on my database, so you have to be authenticated to write and to see this page maybe. But to read, it should be anybody is allowed to read as long as it's from this web app in particular. I don't want anybody else but people from this web app going to my page to read it, right? And then we want to add some things like if I click on this page, this title here, I want it to navigate to that post to edit it or to view it. We'll have to see what we want to do. Maybe we'll add an edit button or something, and also a delete button. We want to be able to delete our posts, or at least make them not visible to users, so it could keep it in the database but not visible to the average user. All right, so thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.